Today is Wednesday, April 24th, and I'm wondering if I might just take a guess what the Cowboys' first 3 picks in the draft will look like.
And now, a word from our title sponsor.
Are all financial advisors fiduciaries? Fewer than you think. Not knowing could reduce your lifestyle. Hi, I'm Mitch Kramer, founder and CEO of Fluent Financial. A fiduciary is a regulatory term to reduce conflicts of interest in wealth management. A fiduciary always works in your best interest. A non-fiduciary advisor might put their compensation or company ahead of yours. At Fluent Financial, we are certified financial planners acting as fiduciary advisors. To learn more, go to fluentfinancial.com or Fluent Financial's YouTube channel.
There's been a significant development in your laundry room. Laundry detergent sheets, not dryer sheets, but the same concept. Paper thin, remarkably efficient. Just toss one into your load of clothes and voila! Sparkling clean and smelling great. And as a plus, they're hypoallergenic for those with sensitive skin. Plastic jugs of detergent. Jugs that just wind up in trash heaps. It's easy to get your laundry detergent sheets. Just go to the link in today's podcast episode.
Introducing Star Power Smart Home Solutions, where cutting-edge technology meets effortless living. Control your entire home with just a tap on your smartphone. Adjust the lights, set the perfect temperature, and ensure your home is secure, all from the palm of your hand. Star Power has the experts that will transform your house into a secure, smart home. Experience the ultimate solution in comfort and security for your family. Get started at GetStarPower.com. Star Power, where innovation meets home.
Before we begin, the draft on the ticket is Thursday night, Friday night, and Saturday all day. I'll be on all 3 days. This will be my 39th complete NFL draft on the air. So join us. We start Thursday at 6 o'clock. This is a very critical draft for the Cowboys. They've got so many holes to fill, and they don't have the money to go out and sign players to fill them. So the draft must fill them. This draft, over the 7 rounds, the Cowboys really have to find, I think, 3 starters in this draft, and then get lucky and maybe find a rotational player late in the draft also. Dallas drafts number 24, number 56, and number 87 in rounds 1, 2, and 3. They have no 4th round pick. That went to acquire backup quarterback Trey Lance, meaning that after the Cowboys make that 87th pick late in the 3rd round, they must wait and watch 86 more players go off the board before it's their turn to pick again in the late 5th. The 1st round, let's walk through it. It's tough to pin down because I believe the Cowboys are one of the top NFL teams who wants to trade down in the draft. That is, drop from 24 back to 28 or 30 or 32, something like that. The reason the Cowboys, I believe, can think about doing that is maybe their biggest offensive need is offensive line, where they kind of actually need 2 people. But there's so many offensive linemen in this draft that the Cowboys could drop down and still get a pretty decent offensive lineman 4 or 6 or 8 picks later. Graham Barton is the most versatile. He's the Duke player. He could play tackle or guard or center. Maybe his future's at center. Jackson Powers Johnson from Oregon is a center. A really good one. But there are whispers about some kind of medical problem. I have not been able to track this down for certain. But in some areas, it appears that Powers Johnson is sliding a bit on draft boards. That leaves 2 tackles. Amarius Mims from Georgia, and Tyler Guyton from Oklahoma. Mims likely goes before Guyton. Now, the Cowboys are very flexible here, and their flexibility stems from Tyler Smith, their left guard. Tyler Smith was drafted to play left tackle, but he's a really good left guard. So the Cowboys could draft a tackle and keep Smith at guard, or they could draft a guard or center and move Smith out to left tackle. I'd personally like to keep him at left guard, by the way. I guess Barton's gone in this draft before 24. I'm just guessing that. I think Mims may be gone also, the Georgia guard. That leaves Jackson Powers Johnson, and by the way, the Cowboys brought him in and Graham Barton in as part of their national visits list. It leaves him and it leaves Guyton. Now, I'm guessing the Cowboys would like to see Barton or Mims slide. They would like to trade down. If none of that happens, maybe Guyton is the pick, the Oklahoma tackle. Now, what happens in rounds 2 and 3 depends on what happens in round 1 for the Cowboys. Because remember, they're drafting for need. They need people to fill holes. So if they filled a hole in the offensive line in round 1, then they look elsewhere. But if they'd gone some different direction in round 1, then it becomes really important that they draft a second-round offensive lineman. But let's go on the theory that they get the offensive lineman in the first round. So what are the biggest holes left? Running back, defensive tackle, linebacker. Let's go to runner first. I think they like the UT runner, Jonathan Brooks. And if he's there at number 56, I think Dallas would have a hard time passing on him. But there are several interesting runners who should be there in the third round, like Jalen Wright from Tennessee, Brayton Allen from Wisconsin, Bucky Irving from Oregon, and maybe even Marshawn Lynch from USC. So if Dallas has a choice there in round 2, if Brooks is there, do they go to Brooks and go somewhere else in round 3? Well, let's assume first that Brooks isn't there. Then who? Well, they could hope that the A&M linebacker Edgerrin Cooper falls to them. I don't think so. They could hope the defensive tackle Ruke or Horo from Clemson gets to them. Now that's a little more likely. Or Florida State's Braden Fisk. He almost certainly will be there, but maybe should be drafted a little later. Or another offensive lineman? It could be. There's going to be quality there at offensive line in the second round. Dominic Pooney from Kansas. Patrick Paul from Houston. Pooney's a guard, Paul's a tackle. Which one? Well, I think it depends on what Dallas did in the first round. If they're moving Tyler Smith out to tackle, they'll be interested in drafting guards and centers, and so on. Okay, now let's go to round 3. Well, we talked about the runners being there. But if the Cowboys have taken Jonathan Brooks in round 2, then they're going someplace else in round 3. That could be defensive tackle. That could be a linebacker. The third round becomes murkier right now because we don't know rounds 1 and 2. Let's say the Cowboys have taken Guyton and the running back Brooks. Well, then they're not looking for another runner in the 3rd round. They're looking someplace else on the board. Maybe maybe again to offensive line, or maybe linebacker, maybe defensive tackle. But if they've taken, for instance, Guyton in the 1st round, or Horo, the defensive tackle in the 2nd round, then running back becomes, I think, a pretty clear choice in the 3rd round. Now, here's what's bad about this situation. The Cowboys may get 3 good players, but here's what's bad. They're drafting for need. They need to get a runner, an offensive lineman, a linebacker, a defensive tackle, so that if a really solid player that plays a position they don't need slides to them, the Cowboys are in such a position of need that that player might slide right past them. For example, just take a few years ago, the Cowboys had no idea C.D. Lamb was going to get to them in the middle of the 1st round. They thought he was going to go off the board at number 6 or number 7. But Lamb did get to them, and the Cowboys grabbed him because he was the best player available. What the Cowboys now need is the best player available at the position they have holds. I'd be happy with Guyton and Brooks or Horo and a linebacker, defensive tackle in round 3. After the draft is over, the Cowboys are going to say all sorts of nice things about their draft. But you know what? So are the other 31 teams in the league. But the Cowboys need this draft to be good. Last year after their draft, they said lots of good things about their draft. And you know what? As far as impact last year, the Cowboys draft was rated the worst in the league.
Today's episode brought to you by Fluent Financial, Retire Sooner, Better Lifestyle, and by Star Power, Love Where You Live.
Just Wondering is a production of DSP Media for FanStream Sports. You can find Norm's show along with other great programming at fanstreamsports.com.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you enjoyed it, hit follow. And every weekday, a fresh new episode of Just Wondering will be delivered right to you. And if you enjoy this podcast, please share it with a friend. Finally, should you have questions or comments, please share them with us by going to X and our address at Norm's Clubhouse. That's Just Wondering with Norm Hitzges. And every day, I'll be just wondering about something.
And I'm Mary Hitchkus, and I'm just wondering too.